Hey guys, Lilith here from Jarastar2 Gaming, and I'm going to be talking about how to maximize your healing as a Discipline Priest for the heroic Immerseus encounter. This is going to be one of 14 obviously, and I'll be doing all of them as time progresses. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started. So what talents should we use as a Discipline Priest on this fight? Well, for our movement increasing abilities on this fight, I prefer to go for Body and Soul for the pure reason that when we soak a swirl, meaning that when swirl's coming at us and we just power ward shield ourselves and run through it, we're going to knock two birds out with one stone by not only getting a movement increase but the bubble as well. So I prefer to take Body and Soul. And also Angelic Feather isn't really that good because we don't have to go a long ways without stopping, so it's not really going to be that useful for us. For our mana regeneration, I go ahead and take Mindbender for this fight because of the fact that in the ad phases we don't have time to use Soulless if we're healing correctly, and so Mindbender is going to provide the best MPM for this fight, and it's really going to help us just not have to focus about using our Soulless during the ad phase. So for our damage reduction talents, I like to take Desperate Prayer on this fight because my group's damage is good enough that I don't need Bulwark. But if your group's just getting to Immerseus or your group's DPS overall isn't that awesome, I would go ahead and take Angelic Bulwark if I were you because it could save you. So I go ahead and take Twist of Fate on this fight because there's ads all throughout Phase 1 as well as Phase 2. Divine Insight's not going to help us at all basically. Power Infusion doesn't really help us at all either unless you want to go balls to the walls on the ads. But I still think Twist of Fate's going to provide the most HPM or healing per minute. Okay, so for Tier 6, I go ahead and take either Cascade or Halo. Now the predicament here is that Cascade, while providing the most healing on more ads, Halo is going to provide the most healing on fewer ads, but it's also going to do damage to the DPS ads, as well as put your Divine Aegises up on people that are on the side you're on. So it's really up for debate. You can take either. Sometimes I just alternate, depends what week it is, but and the healing doesn't really differ that much. It's really just personal preference. I will say though, if you're going to use Cascade, make sure you use Archangel and then Cascade on the ad. If you're going to use Halo, again use Archangel and then get toward the middle of the room on your side and then Halo, so you can get farthest away from the ad that you're trying to heal, and it should get it pretty high. So for GLYPHS, I take your standard Inner Sanctum because it's spell damage. There's no physical damage really except for the ads in Phase 1, which get picked up by the tank. This also helps us with swirl damage because swirl is a magical damage ability. I also take Glyph of Fade because I can Glyph of Fade right before the ads explode. I can Glyph of Fade if I know the Shaw Bolts are coming. I can Glyph of Fade going into swirls. I can do a lot of things with Glyph of Fade on this fight. And then obviously Glyph of Penance. This fight's all about movement, the entire fight basically. So which cloak should we use? Which legendary cloak? Well, obviously if you have spirit issues, this isn't up for debate. Take the healing one. But if you're where I am, like, I'm 575 item level right now, and I'm just trying to get the most healing I can, not really the most regeneration. So I prefer to take the DPS cloak because the healing cloak is only going to provide us about 2.5% or so of our overall healing, while the DPS cloak is going to give us that extra 1.5% crit, which is going to be really useful for our Divine Aegises on the raid. For everything over the healing. The cloak can be very nice if used correctly. It just depends where the ads are and what's happening in the ad phase, because you could get lucky and you could you could start overhealing or whatever and heal onto splash heal onto other ads, but still I think that the DPS cloak is better. So our 2 set versus our 4 set. Should we be using the 4 set or the 2 set with 2 off pieces? Well, in my opinion, I don't think that Spirit Shell is going to be used often enough during the encounter that we're going to need to be having the 4 set, and it's going to be worth it. So I go ahead and use the 2 set and my 2 Heroic Warforged off pieces because it's going to provide me with the most stats, because the 4 set, like I said, there's really no time to be Spirit Shelling during this encounter. That's going to help us a lot. That the extra 3,500 mastery and 10% haste is going to be worth losing all the extra crit or whatever we're getting from our off pieces. So some important abilities in this encounter that you need to know about as a healer is the Shaw Splash, which are the black puddles that spawn on the ground that you have to run out of. A couple things you can do with this: if you see it coming on your DBM or whatever, you know it's about to come, you can go ahead and Cascade beforehand, and it'll start jumping on people and heal them as they get hit by it. You can also Spirit Shell beforehand. You can even Power Word Shield people beforehand if you have enough time. So the tanking ability in this encounter is Corrosive Blast, and basically does a flat 900,000 damage to your tank and gives them a debuff that increases the damage taken by the next one by 300%, and it stacks. So what you can do is, if you're not going to be using Spirit Shell for Shaw Splash, just Spirit Shell and Spirit Shell to tank, and you should be good to go. You can also Power Word Shield them, that helps a lot. And if they need the extra cooldown, go ahead, throw them a Pain Suppression, and they should survive. Now, Swirl obviously does a significant amount of damage as well as a knockback on Heroic. So, like I said, you can go ahead and run straight through it with the Power Word Shield, and mine are potent enough now that they don't even go off when I run through the Swirl. So, one of the most important things, I guess I should say, as a healer that's in Phase 1 is Swelling Corruption, because this is really what you got to deal with and watch out for as you're just getting into the encounter, because it can wipe you very quickly if you don't deal with it correctly. So basically, he gets these stacks of Swelling Corruption that are equal to half of the energy that he has, or equal to the energy he has, I believe. And every time somebody damages the boss while he has this on him, it gives them a stack. So they get a stacking debuff on them. And obviously here are the stacks. So at 1 stack, 2,500, 2 stacks, 5,750, 3, 20,000, 4, 45,000, 5, 100,000, and at 6 stacks they start taking 175,000 damage per second. So that is going to be significant. That is why it's very important, especially as a Discipline Priest, if there's, I would say more than 3 to 4 people, just mass dispel them and then start dispelling on cooldown. Also, if you have a Mistweaver monk in your raid group, tell them that they need to revival during this point. If you have trouble with this, if you don't, it's fine. But if you tend to have trouble dispelling the debuff, have them revival then instead of during the ad phase, because it's going to get you through the encounter more than the ad revival. So the Contaminated Puddles, this is basically going to be the best bang for your buck when it comes to healing the Contaminated Puddles. So obviously Archangel, and then Cascade or Halo, and then Penance the Mob, Inner Focus, and Flash Heal until they're full, and you should be good. That's all you really need to do. You're losing time if you're greater healing, or even just healing or renewing or whatever retarded thing you might be doing. This is going to give you the most. This is how you need to heal them up to full, and you should be awesome to go there. Alright guys, well that pretty much covers everything you need to know as a healer going into this encounter as a Discipline Priest. I hope you learned something if you've already been doing this encounter, and if you haven't, I hope this helps you out. So as always, good luck and have fun.